Hello, Miss Stewart. How are you?
Good. How are you, Miss Armenta?
Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for letting me go into your classroom
Mhm.
again and observing your lesson. I loved it. Thank you so much. It was so just to see them from
Mhm.
a month ago, and then to
Yeah.
see this, to see how they've grown, and how you just interact with them is just
Mhm.
awesome. Um, the purpose of our conference is for professional growth.
Mhm.
We'll spend time discussing with your lesson about the focus on instruction and how the students were involved in the lesson. The goal will be to help develop ideas on how to enhance student achievement. And I'll start off by asking you, how do you think the lesson went?
Um, it went well as far as they're going through it. However, in the middle of the lesson, some of the equipment didn't work as well as I wanted it to. And we had to adjust a little bit, and then I had to do a few things after you had left to go a little bit deeper than the equipment allowed me to go, and it didn't quite work as well as it needed.
Okay.
But other than that, I thought they got the concept of what they were supposed to get. It was just, yeah, the spring scales that I had been given in a mass amount did not pick up on the friction blocks that I had also been given to use with those spring scales.
Lesson.
So if I were to do it again, I would definitely either put some kind of weight on each friction block, something like that, because it just the spring scales needed more mass to pull to read on the spring scale.
But even using that tool, I mean, I don't think I remember using that ever.
Oh, I had never used one before until I started teaching with them.
Yeah, so I mean, just having the opportunity to explore that, I think that was awesome.
It was, so. And they enjoyed the explore lessons before this one too.
Yeah,
we just practice putting stuff on it and reading it.
That's cool. Okay. Well, when planning a lesson, I just want to ask some questions. When planning a lesson, how do you ensure that the activities planned are engaging and they keep the students motivated and focused to learn? I'm reading backwards. How do the lessons engage students in ownership of their own learning?
Well, anything I can do hands-on, I try to do it. And if we can go out of the classroom into the lab, they automatically get excited when I say, oh, we're going next door to the lab today. So even just planning to go in there is enough to keep their attention. If I'm talking beforehand, they know we're going to the lab. Usually they'll pay a little bit closer attention because they know they're about to go use whatever information right then that I'm conveying to them. So we do as much hands-on and in the lab as possible because of that. And I also tried to put in as many discussion pieces as I can because they then it does kind of give them a little bit more ownership. They're talking about what they're learning versus me telling them what they learned. So that's one way to keep them engaged.
And I did. I mean, I saw them when you were like, okay, grab your journal, let's go to the lab. I mean, y'all were moving so fast in the morning. And so that's one of the first things that I wrote down, that I enjoyed seeing how the activities just transitioned really quick one from another. Based on the first time that I saw, it was kind of a little bit, I mean, y'all transitioned well, but it just took a little bit longer. And with this one, it's like, I guess because they knew they were going to the lab, it's like nobody was wasting time. And so I wrote down the times where you started at 8:30. They did the warm up by 8:36. You were telling them, y'all were discussing it. By 8:39, y'all were starting your new lesson. And then by 8:50, y'all were already out there in the lab. So, I mean, they set up their journals. They did everything you told them to. And just that right there was, saving time. And then, what happened here? By 9:05, all groups were done. So once y'all started your lab, I mean, you finished your lesson right on time, which was good. Going back to the warm-up, last time I don't think I saw the objectives. I think maybe y'all had erased something on
they should have been over there.
Board. There was something on this board, but I couldn't really.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyhow, this time I looked mainly at the objectives where they were with the warm-up questions. So I wasn't looking for them. So I guess that helped me. So I saw that, and then I saw that the warm-up question was there, and the kids were all working on it. And then when you called them, y'all were discussing the answers, and I saw how you were expecting them to answer with the units. And I think the first one, he kind of didn't know what to say for the unit, but you called on somebody else, and they told you, was it not Newtons yet?
Grams.
There was the Grams. And then the second person, they answered you again with a number, and you, what? Oh, newtons. They changed it to newtons. And the third person, that person didn't even have to think about it. They did it. So you, I guess, insisting that they respond to you correctly. I saw that. That was a positive. It says I like the activity when you rubbed your hands and they explained something about something about becomes more. I forgot.
They heat up because of the friction. Yeah. Your hands warm up, and actually, they were supposed to put their hands on their face ahead of time. I had done it with some other groups, but I just let them feel it because we needed to get out of there. So it's just they could feel the temperature rising, which was we were going to connect that piece with the other lab piece. You saw we connected that later in the thing. We connected how temperature and force are related.
Yeah, so I mean, like that. I mean, it was all real life experience. They were able to make all these connections, and I was like, oh my gosh. I liked seeing how the kids were comfortable with their science journals and didn't waste time setting them up. Again, I put about how you quickly transitioned them from the classroom to the lab, and you had jobs for them. You had number 1, 3, and 5. You're going to do this, and so they knew what was expected of them.
Well, and actually, one of the reasons it went a little bit better this time is because I took your suggestion from last time, and I was telling them, you have this many minutes, and they could see me glancing at the clock, and I watched that minute hand, and when a minute is up, it's time to share, or whatever it was. So
hey,
it worked. It did. It's really helped our transition.
I could see it. I mean, it was just like, cool, everything's just moving smoothly. The only part where... Well, I saw the issues you had with the spring scale, but again, that wasn't anything that you could control.
Right.
The only thing that I did note was that refinement was with the behavior of some students. And again, it was because you were having the issues with the spring scale. So some of those kids knew you were over here.
Right.
And there was one on the end who was playing with his badge and just swinging it around. And I was like, sit down.
Yeah.
And then there was another 2 who they were playing with the pen, and I guess they knew that the other friends were working, so they felt like, they'll do it, we don't have to, you know what I mean? So, I noticed those 2, and then, like I said, the other one, and then there was another one who, he didn't write anything in his journal, and so that one, too, was kind of disengaged, but again, I think I saw them, they were looking over to see what was going on. So they were learning, but they just weren't, they didn't feel, I guess, what was the word I was thinking of? I can't think of the word. I found it in here.
Taking ownership of their learning?
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah.
I think it's in here. I'll
or
show you.
Taking responsibility for their learning.
Yeah, being responsible for their learning. It's like they were like, okay, they're doing it, so we don't have to. So,
see, I originally had everything broken down into smaller groups because I had another table in there. And that really helped because the group was more, so more people were always doing stuff. And so ever since then, I've been looking for ways to do it with larger groups or find something I could bring in there to have that. Having sometimes like 4 in a group was way better than a lot of the groups had 5 people in them. And in some of the other classes are even bigger. They have 6 people at them. So I'm trying to come up with a job for everybody to do, even though there's not the materials or an activity big enough for everyone to have a job to do. And so that is something I'm trying to figure out and work through. Like, okay, now that I have these bigger groups, what can I do with everybody? It is.
Okay.
But I totally see that because I've seen that ever since I've had the bigger, so I've got to figure something out so that the groups aren't so big or that there's more for everybody to do.
And like I said, I mean, they're all working, but it's just like they're like, okay, she's not looking, so let's play around for a little bit. And then, but once they saw you were coming, they'd be like, they were getting back onto it. So that's the only thing I put mainly for the refinement. What did I put on here? I looked through all of the domains. Share evidence for refinement. I did that. So, I mean, we can go through here. This has a little bit more detail on it. So, these are all the domains that we have to go through.
Okay.
And so, I went through each one, and so I kind of checked off on everything that I saw. So, for example, this was for your planning, and I looked at, they were sequenced, of course, and I looked through the whole, that you had your 5 E's. You provided appropriate time for student work, lesson, and lesson closure. I saw all of that within the 45 minutes I was there. Of course, they were aligned to your standards. Integration of technology, but you said that you did the STEM
separate
scopes.
part, the STEMstopedia, online.
And so I just didn't see that there, but I saw it in your lesson plans that you did include it. And then here we have the dimensions 1 and 2, which is the data and assessment. I didn't see any of this because, of course, it's a whole lesson, but I know that you're doing the formal and informal assessments because you were monitoring for their progress and you were making sure they were all writing something down. You did give them feedback on what they were doing. I put on here, did not see.
Oh, because of the school personnel.
No, because it's
families,
just talking about the families. I mean, that's just something that we didn't see.
Yeah.
Of course, I know that you're, doing the analysis of student data based on instructional strategies. This part, to enhance.
That's what it was, enhancing their own learning.
That's what it was. I couldn't think of the word. It was enhancing their own learning. And so on this one here, to be distinguished, it's to enhance each other's learning. So that's like a step where we have to first make them, be, held responsible for their own learning and then worry about the other ones. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, maybe, you had their journals. And I was like, well, maybe if they did, because I remember seeing one time, I think it was when we did the snow stuff, the Billy Snow.
Oh, the Billy Snow thing, yeah.
It's like, it was one sheet for all group members.
Oh, right. That would be a good idea.
And so maybe, like, let's say if you had 6, well, maybe this one is responsible for this one, one for each thing. And then
they use each other's to fill in.
And then go back and when you go reflect on yourself, reflect, they transfer whatever they put down as a group and then discuss later. I don't know.
Right. And then maybe sometimes having that peer piece would make them concentrate more because I don't want anybody to be upset that I didn't do my part. Yeah.
And that's what I was just like, maybe if I saw that this person didn't do it, hurry up and you need to do your part so we can all do a good,
That's a good idea. No, I'll try it.
So,
I'm game for anything. Like I said, I've been trying to figure out what to do now that my groups are suddenly larger. Even Miss Waffle didn't know they were coming to take that table out that I had in there so I could have 5 groups. Somebody just came one day, took it. Some of my stools, I ended up with not enough for my kids at one point.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just gone. And so it's like, okay, I've either got to find a table somewhere to bring in there or do something because I need that smaller group. But maybe if I can try something like that with the groups of 5 and 6, that will help.
Yeah. We'll start looking for a table for you.
I might get my something,
but that was just something that I thought I was like, how can I help her, get something from that? So, let's see here. This was planning, maintains both group and individual accountability. You did because you had them talk to their partners and then you had them do something in their journal on their own. So that I saw all that there. That all students understood their individual roles within the instructional groups. Activities, resources, and again, that technology part's just what I didn't see, so I couldn't mark that off. Persist with the lesson until there's evidence that most students demonstrate mastery of the objective, and again, it's just that one student playing around, so that knocks it out. But other than that, you have everything, all the descriptors on there.
Okay.
Here, the instruction, okay, let's see, it says conveys depth of knowledge. Of course, you knew everything you were teaching. You taught me. I was like, oh. If you're having trouble, think about how. Okay, so for this one, you knew that they were having some misunderstandings with things, and so you were kind of giving them hints of what. So on this one, I just wrote down that you said, if you're having trouble, think about how mass and force are related during the warm-up time. And then I saw some, and so they started working on it. And then also when y'all were doing the, what are they called, spring scales, you kind of reminded them to calibrate it. And, you knew that those were some of the misunderstandings they were having, even though you said the tools were an issue.
A little off.
Yeah. We went through instruction. Let's see. You provided wait time. You let one of the students answer the question. He just couldn't get it, and then you asked, somebody else to, can you help him out? And she was on it. So that was good. And just your communication with them. They look so comfortable talking to you. It's like you don't intimidate them or anything. They're just comfortable, and that's just nice to see. You ask questions. Yeah, you're constantly asking questions. They're constantly answering you, and they're higher order thinking questions. Let's see. For instruction, what is this? For differentiation. And this one, student confusion, disengagement, or addressing learning. And so I put the needs of all students.
Right.
Yeah. It's just because of those
couple other.
Yeah, but you had plenty of hands-on discussions, group work, reflections. So all of this met for proficient. You continually check for understanding. You adjust instruction and activities to maintain student engagement. And like when y'all were having the issues with that, I mean, you didn't say, okay, let's stop right there. No, you kept at it and you helped them see that it was the tool. So, you utilize input from students in order to monitor and adjust instruction. You were doing that. And this is the classroom environment routine, so that's what.
Yeah, it goes from probably most to all on that one again. Yeah.
And so, of course, the classroom is safe, but there's a part where
students take primary leadership.
Yeah.
For managing student group supplies. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
I mean, all of this is being here to here is great. Which one is this one? Managing student behavior. So most students meet the expected classroom behavior, and they did. And it's most students know, understand, and respect classroom behavior and standards. And you're always encouraging them. Learning environment engages all students with relevant, meaningful learning, sometimes adjusting lessons based on students' interests and abilities. Students collaborate with each other and the teacher. That would be for this one, I think. It's just that when I was going down the...
Oh, okay.
Here, this is all about professional practices. And, of course, all of this is distinguished because you follow the code of ethics, professional standards, advocate of the needs of all students in the classroom and campus. These are all mainly about you. And I see all of that.
Oh. Well, thank you.
Self-reflection, and I mean, this just personal. I know after they took their milestone that you were like, okay,
right.
You were
trying because I had talked to you about that, right? I'm
trying to see how they could fix it, and just.
Which we are. I told Miss Baumgartner the other day, I said, if we have to live in the lab, that's what we'll do. And so we've been in there almost every single day since that milestone.
Aww.
Doing something, even if it's just a few minutes. I'd rather them, even if it seems, the other day we did something that seemed so simple, just on, direction and force, just making, just knowing that to make something go to the right, you have to be on the left and push it. I could have easily just asked them and done it with the pencils on their desk. But if we go in the lab and we do it with a toy car or a ball, they're going to internalize it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, we did it. It's like, I'll take that extra couple of minutes to do that just because I want them to really grasp it.
Yeah, and then they're going to remember it. So.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
All right.
You know that. So yeah, I have a favor to ask you now.
Uh-oh.